Hello YouTube, we're back again. It's been a while since I posted a video. I got an email from YouTube the other day that if I don't post some content, they're going to shut my channel down, which is amazing that they believe that the world cannot continue on without me posting some content. You know how it is. When the society collapses and all things come to an end and the bullcrap hits the fan, it's not going to be because of fossil fuels or carbon footprints or cow farts and all that. It's going to be because of idiots in cubicles. So the cubicle dwellers have deemed it necessary for me to post some videos, so I'm back. Had a couple of operations last summer. Had some stuff going on. Didn't get any content made, but we're back. So today I want to talk about that nasty little thing that they like to throw around nowadays on social media called white privilege. And I want to show you a little bit of what white privilege used to do back in the old days of logging. Now, we're standing on the edge of the rim, what geologists call the escarpment or the rim of the Central Highlands in New Brunswick. This is actually the beginning, what geologists say is the beginning of the edge of the northern portion of the Appalachian Mountains. So as you can see to the right, the valley floor is down there at about 200 feet or so, and it's a 75, 80 degree grade straight down. You can just make it out. There's a road right at the bottom of the hill here. That's actually the highway passing through here. We're right on the Miramichi Valley. The Miramichi River is out there in the distance. And this northern rim of the valley presented quite a barrier for loggers. Now, anybody that had property up here, from here northward about 2 miles, the land slopes up, and then you tip into the drainage of the Bartholomew's and then the Dungarvan rivers. But you're getting into much more hilly territory. Then you get up into the Christmas Mountains and the mountainous area toward the central portion of New Brunswick. But for the landowners here to get lumber and pulpwood off of these highlands to the river valley and to the train tracks, which are on the south side of the river, this rim was quite a barrier. And so they made use of the hollows where they could. Now, just east of us here, there's what they call the Murphy Hollow, and then the Justy Hollow. Long's Hollow is just upriver here. And then there's another hollow on the upper side of our property, and then the Hovey Hollow. But these hollows are very steep notches that cut down out of the rim going toward the valley floor. And the side of these hollows in a lot of places is as steep as what this rim is right here. So transporting logs or pulpwood from this high land down to the valley floor was quite an obstacle. So there was something that my ancestors did here. My father, grandfather, great-grandfather. This was something that was seen fairly regularly in different places up and down the valley. They would cut what was called a landing. And what they done here, I can remember this landing was still opened up when I was just a child. I'm 61 years old now. But this landing was probably 30 feet wide, no trees. And it was clear all the way to the valley floor. And they would use that. They would come out with the logging sleds on the top of the hill here. And logs, you could just roll them over the landing. Now, bear in mind, we're talking 1920s, 1930s, very little vehicle traffic on that road. It was a single lane dirt road back then, and usually people was walking on the road or they'd be traveling a horse and wagon. So putting logs over here wasn't a big issue. Then they'd have to go to the bottom of the hill, take the logs, yard them into the field, get them browed up so that they would go in the river drive in the spring when the floodwaters went. Pulpwood was another issue. Now, pulpwood back in them days was all cut 4 foot, and they had to get pulpwood down off of this rim to the valley floor, get it across the river to the train tracks either in Mactamie, which is down here to the east, or get it to Ludlow, which is up to the west and across on the south side of the river. So my father, grandfather, great-grandfather, they had a system for getting pulpwood over this hill without it being such an awful chore. What they did was they built a sluice, and the sluice was built out of fir and spruce poles. It started up here at the top of the hill. It went down there about, roughly 100 feet. And then they built a kicker onto it. Now I've got a model off to the side here. I'm going to show you here in a minute. They built a kicker onto it. So what they would do is they would come in. There's an old trail cut through the woods here. They'd come out here with the logging sleds. There was no trees here at the time. They'd come out here with the logging sled. There was a fan built on the top of the sluice, which is just a V'd-in, my cameraman's got the sneezes, a V'd-in section of plank poled in tray, basically. They would dump the pulpwood into the fan. It would slide off the fan into the sluice, go all the way down the hill. At the bottom of the hill, it would be gathering quite a bit of momentum, and then it would hit the kicker. And that pulpwood would fly in the air across that roadway and land out there in the field down there on the south side of the road. So I've got a model built right back here of the sluice, the way that they put it together. So what they did,
I'll get back here somewhere.
what they did at the top of the hill was they'd find two good sound trees, and they had to be fairly good trees, living trees standing on either side of the landing. And they'd put a log all the way across behind the trees, anchor the log down at the ground, and of course, you've seen the hill. The hill is, 75-degree grade at least. They would anchor the log across the face of the hill. Then they would cut full-length spruce and fir trees, about 8 inches on the stump. They would lay them down over the hill, and every so far down the hill, they'd find two trees opposing each other. They'd put another pole across, and then another pole across. And when they laid the poles down the hill, you'd go with the big end up to the bottom, and then the big end down with the small end at the top. And they'd alternate them so that the poles all laid together good like this here. They'd build the sluice down, and then at the bottom of the hill, or 3/4 the way down the hill, they anchored a log across up higher on a couple of trees, and then they put poles back in. Now, these poles would be fastened with either wooden pegs or spikes, if they had the money for spikes. We're talking Depression era. They'd fasten them with wooden pegs or spikes to the poles that are laying across the hill, so that these are locked in place coming down. And then they'd put the kickers back in like this. They'd have a pole or a log up on a tree so high to get some height. They'd anchor these to that pole. They'd have a pole across underneath between where these are coming together like this, and that would keep them from shifting. They'd anchor them down like that. They'd put some short pieces in so that you didn't have gaps in your kicker like I do here. I just got this for demonstration purposes. But they would build this sluice with the kicker in, and then according to my father, the way that they had it, they had some planks up on the sides so that when the pulpwood went in, it stayed in the sluice and couldn't come out. Now you can imagine this. It's facing directly into the south, so any snow that gets on the sluice through the winter is going to melt a little bit. It's going to freeze overnight. It's going to turn to ice. So you had this nice icy ramp going 100, 125 feet down the hill, and then the pulpwood hits this kicker, and it goes off, and it's airborne. And that's the way that they got the pulpwood from the top of the rim here down to the valley floor. So now, I told you I was going to tell you about white privilege. Here's what it took to get, and the price back then was around $4 for a cord. A cord of pulpwood is 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet long. So for them to get that $4, they went to the woods in the spring, they cut the trees. They peeled them in the summertime because the bark will slip off the softwood easily in the spring and summer. They would peel them all summer. They would yard them to the side of the road, buck them up with a Swede saw or a crosscut saw, whatever they had, pile the pulpwood up. Then you wait until the snow come. The snow come on in the fall. They'd wait until it was good sledding. They'd go back, shovel out the piles of pulpwood, load them by hand onto a logging sled. Then they'd sled them out to the top of the hill here, unload the pulpwood by hand, throw it in the sluice. It goes down the hill. They'd take the logging sled back up. They'd put it down over the hill into the hollow. There was a few places there that they had trails. They could actually get an empty sled down into the hollow. They'd take the sled down. They'd come back down the valley, out into the field, gather up all the pulpwood that's scattered all over the field, load it back on the sled, take the sled down the valley, out onto the creek, from down the creek a ways, and then there was a cross channel, went across the islands met up with the main channel of the river. They'd go across to the main channel, cross the main channel, get up onto the roadway that ran parallel with the railway tracks, go down to the siding where the train tracks was in Mactomie, and there was a place there that they had two or three tracks set off the side of the main track, and you could order a boxcar. Once you had, I think it was 18 or 20 cord they had to have to fill a boxcar. Don't quote me on that, I'm not exactly sure. But when they had enough pulpwood to fill a boxcar, then they would order the boxcar. Now you had to haul the pulpwood down there, unload it off your sled, and pile it up again. When they brought your boxcar, if you were lucky, they put the boxcar close to where your pile of pulpwood was. If you weren't lucky, your boxcar wound up somewhere else. You had to take your sleds back, load your pulpwood back on your sled, haul it down to where your boxcar was, load it into the boxcar by hand, pile it all up until the boxcar was jammed full. You had, I think, between 3 and 5 days from the time they delivered the boxcar till you had to have it full and ready to go. And then your boxcar went to Newcastle to the pulp mill, and sometimes the following spring you would get your money back. So you worked pretty much a year around to get that $4 a cord for that pulpwood. Now that's what the left wing today will call white privilege. You're privileged because you have white skin and you have, what your father or your grandfather worked for. That's the work that they had to do. I would love to see one of these coffee shop aficionados spend 1 week in the pulpwoods doing what our ancestors did to make $1 to stay alive during the Great Depression. But that's the example of what the sheer determination and perseverance that our ancestors went through to make $1 to keep food on the table back in them days. I just wanted you to see this, not so much the rant. I wanted you to see the historical aspect of what man can do to overcome an obstacle like that when he puts his mind to it. I'll have some more videos up before the winter's out. We're going to start cutting firewood, and we got some other things on the go. Until the next one, stay safe, be happy.